Well, episode 8 comes a week later, and we will get into why it's a week late in a minute. However, thank you once again for joining us. This is Chaiibucks Chat. I am Phil Hayworth, and I am joined once again by Mr. Sharafat Shah and Mr. Yasser Sufi.
Assalamu alaikum.
Malaikum assalam. Wherever you're listening to us, either YouTube or on Spotify, please give us a like, give us a share, give us some questions, give us some comments, leave us a bit of feedback. We do get it, and we do usually get it personally, don't we? The feedback and the comments, and it's quite nice to see. But it'd be nice to start seeing some on some of the posts that we do share. We are also on Instagram, where you can keep up with what we're doing. But again, yeah, thank you for joining us. It's massively appreciated. So, gentlemen, it's nice to see you, and I'd like to say, well, I wouldn't like to say because that wouldn't be kind of me, but I'm going to have to say, it's not that we had a week off from each other, is it? We were together last Sunday. It's just that we didn't record a podcast. Does anybody want to tell our listeners where we were last Sunday?
We planned it. I think it was quite last minute, wasn't it? I can't remember how it happened.
Well, sorry, I'll jump back in again. I don't think it was a last minute plan, but the preparation was that poor on my part. It probably felt like a last minute plan.
Yeah. I think you suggested it, Phil, didn't you? That should we do a hike on Sunday? They just suggested we're doing this, and I think the night before I was like, where are we going? What's the route? How we, all that sort of stuff. So we went for a hike, didn't we?
We did.
And
hike and a half.
Some struggled a bit more than others. What was it called again? I put name. Honestly,
so it's a mountain. The mountain in the Yorkshire Dales, called Pen y Ghent.
Pen y Ghent,
and it's part of the Three Peaks, isn't it?
It is part of the Yorkshire Three Peaks. So that was my plan originally when I put it to you, wasn't it? That we'd get out, we'd try and do a little bit of walking together. We'd do these three peaks singularly, with the hope from me to be able to, in about September when the weather's cooling off a little bit, that we could then attempt the Yorkshire Three Peaks together.
Nah, we're all right.
No. I'll give that a miss. We'll do it one at a time with several weeks in between.
A friend of mine did actually say to me that Whernside is a really, really good one to do, next. So we'll do that one, and then we'll do the other one. And then I think we're done with the Yorkshire Peaks.
Well, so that's that idea out the window.
You've got one planned next week, something, haven't you, as well? So we'll tag along to that as well.
Yes, we're on a Father's Day. By the way, it's Father's Day. I don't know whether you know that.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Yeah, but we've got Father's Day hike for the lads planned. Quite a few joining us on this one. I think there's numbers are about 13 or 14 last I checked.
Okay.
So should be a good one in the lakes. We're doing, can't remember the name again. Memory at this age, mate, gone. But it'll come to me, and the route's planned, and we know where we're going. But last week was epic. Last week was really, really good. And Phil, you had one condition, didn't you, on the hike?
I usually have conditions all over the place. However, my one condition on last week's hike was that somebody brought chai and tea rusks with us. And I think that's a standard condition nowadays, isn't it? Especially now for me. And I get, I am the white guy on this. That's probably not meant to be all about chai and tea rusks. However, once you're introduced to chai and tea rusks, it becomes the norm. There's no way you can live without it.
We actually had it's a word called parampara. It means tradition. Becomes a tradition when we go on a hike. We take the thermos with it, with your currant chai, and we actually take with us the cake rusks and the mokaria, which is the jeera biscuits. And both of them, when you dunk it, there's nothing like it, mate.
Delicious, aren't they?
Yeah,
we've got some pictures as well. But I don't know if we can ever show the viewers those pictures that we took up Pen y Ghent as well, with us drinking tea and dunking our savoury biscuits in there.
And if they follow us on Instagram, they can see them.
Yeah.
So if you follow Chaiibucks Chat on Instagram, they can see it. But it was really enjoyable. Weather was out. Weather was amazing. We actually saw quite a few Asians as well, didn't we?
Well, we did, but there were few and far between. There was a lot more white faces, and a lot of white legs, which I think we'll talk about later on as well, that we saw. But yeah, it's I think one of the subjects in this podcast is the difference in the cultures as well, isn't it? And the outdoors and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, there were some Asians. I mean, there was 2 out of the 3 here that were there as well, and there was a few others, but not as many as you thought. You know, there was literally hundreds of others there, and I don't know how these walkers get up at 5 o'clock in the morning in the summer and go for a walk. I mean, come on, go for a walk at that time. You should be in bed at that time, right? And these guys are going for a walk, right? Honestly, they're a different breed. And we went because we were just 2 Asian guys tagging on along with a white guy that wanted to go for a walk, because is that what white people do? I don't know, but we certainly don't do that anyway.
Shaz, I don't know about you, but some of us do it quite regularly and we enjoy it. It doesn't sound like you do enjoy getting up at that time and going for a walk with it.
Well, actually, I did enjoy it. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it, but I did enjoy it. And I don't think I can make it a regular thing out of it. But some of these people with all the gear, all the rucksacks and all the shoes and these flipping ski sticks that they had as well, right? Walking about with them. Ski sticks up a flipping slope. Come on. Right. So
it's to help you get up a bit quicker, because we had to wait a few times for you, didn't we?
Yeah, you did have to wait a few times for me. And you were also taking the mickey out of my jeans as well. Yes, you're right. There are not many people wearing jeans, but there were people wearing trousers. And I'll tell you what, though, just say that you slipped on one of the paths up there. Just say you slipped on the stones as we were. Well, I was on all 4s trying to get up the last bit. And just think, if you slipped on there, I used my knees to push myself up. And if I had shorts on, they'd have been scratched to pieces.
What's wrong with a few scratches?
I'd rather wear jeans. They protect you. Feel comfortable in them as well. And tell you what, these pins don't get out often, right? And we were talking about this on the group this morning as well. As you know, I played golf this morning, and this is the first time in, I don't know, probably 2 years that these pins have been open to the public to view. And they're not a pretty sight, but they were out today. I had shorts on today. But then again, if you fall over on a golf course, you're not going to hurt yourself. If you fall over on stones and rubble and a path, you're going to do yourself an injury. So next time, boys, I'm keeping my bloody jeans on.
Right. There's a few things I need to pick up on here. Is that, firstly, if you fall over on a golf course, you could end up hurting yourself because it's never on the fairway the way your ball lands, mate. Let me throw that one in there. Secondly, if you fall over doing Pen again, you've got like battle wounds. You've got battle scars there then. You've got like a bit of a talking point next time you get your pins out, all them scars and all the blood like running down your leg. And, you know, it looks like you've been doing something a bit.
A couple of weeks ago, we did Langdale Pikes in Lakes with a few mates, and we met some people coming down. And this lady, she had really, really short shorts on, but her legs were all out, legs out. And she had scratches all over her legs, and she had like cuts all over her legs. And I just went, "You've been cut a bit, haven't you?" And she went, "Love it. Couldn't do without it." And that's part of it, mate.
What part of it? What? Hurting yourself, injuring yourself, bleeding,
and then
bragging about it afterwards. What's all that about? Bragging about scars on your legs.
Did you enjoy yourself, Chaz?
I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I love the chai and the biscuits at the top as well. But I can't understand why people brag about scars on their legs and everything. It's ridiculous.
So I think all the way around,
good hike, definitely.
It was a good hike, and we had some fun, and we danced to a little bit of Lou Bega on the way down as well, didn't we, Shaz?
Oh yeah, we did, and
we had a bit of Mambo number 5.
We danced some Bollywood music as well, didn't we? Yes,
we did.
We classics came out.
We should get some of that on Instagram as well.
We did the extra climbs at the end as well. And it was quite a good adventure, wasn't it? We did the so for anybody listening, we did the anti-clockwise route. Started at Horton in Ribblesdale, went anti-clockwise, did the scrambling up the path, and then followed the long, fairly boring path, let's be honest, on the way down. I'd have hated to come up that bit. So I think we did the right route. However,
so what was your plan for the route, Phil?
Well, my plan was just to follow somebody who was walking.
Yes, got this free app, didn't he?
He got the free app, yeah. Took
You
us
got
the
the free
long way
app and
around.
took us the wrong way through
Yeah.
You can use either
fields,
All
cow
Trails or
pooing and
Komoot.
everything.
Yeah, if you use Komoot, which is Komoot for those who want to get into hiking or walking or actually do, you can use Komoot. I'm not plugging it. There's not I don't get anything for it, but it recommends hikes. You can do it based to you what level you want to go at, intermediate, beginner. And Shaz, that was a decent hike, that one that you took on. So fair play to you. You got up there. I won't say at what age, but all credit to you, mate. And I think I said this to Phil on the way up. I'd love to be doing that at your age.
I think I'll take that as a compliment.
It's meant to be, mate.
Yeah, but no, it was over 8 miles though. It did take it out of me. My calves were hurting the day after.
Mine weren't, because mine are massive.
Well, again, that's another Instagram video, isn't it, as well?
Someone was admiring your calves. I won't say who.
And it wasn't me, so who else can it be?
And I weren't looking at my own.
Phil, he even took pics for your calves.
He did. He loves that picture.
Get a bit worried about Yas.
I like his calves. I won't say anything else.
So, boys, so I think the discussion is about culture and the great outdoors.
Yeah. Well, the sun's been out, hasn't it? The sun's been out last few weeks.
Yeah.
And it's what we want to try to do is, because we've got an English white man, we've got an British white man, British Indian stroke African, and British Pakistani. And we want to talk about how, when the sun comes out in Britain, what we do, what's different about what we do, without sounding stereotypical in any sense whatsoever. But a lot of people I know who are white British will say, oh, we went to the beer garden, went to the pub. There's other people who'll do things like hiking at 5 a.m. There's other people I know who go cycling and stuff. But then when it comes to Asians, they're a bit more limited in terms of some of those, things they do. So I think the general gist of today is to try and discuss how we're different. And I know actually one thing I do want to mention is when the sun comes out, a lot of white British people like Phil want to be like us white, brown, Asian people, brown British people in terms of getting a tan on. So I think as soon as the sun comes out, all they're thinking about is, can I get me tan on? That's a decent tan, that. But
yeah, I mean,
I will do it differently.
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, I played golf this morning, and it was going on for 30 degrees on there, and I played with two young lads, and all they kept saying was, and this goes in line with what you're saying, Yas. All they were saying was, I wish they changed the dress code for golf here, because daylight today, I'd love to be playing with no top on. But have you heard yourself? No top on? Are you going to burn? You're going to frazzle in this heat. And there's me walking around with me long sleeves on, right? I mean, brolly over me, and these guys want to take the tops off.
Didn't have
just
long
want to be
sleeves
brown
on
like
today.
us, Shaz.
I do have long sleeves on, yeah. Only thin long sleeves. I had long sleeves on, yeah.
But he had his pins out.
I've got my pins out though.
Yeah.
Honestly, a lot of people, when the sun comes out, who are not the fantastic complexion we are, Shaz, all they're thinking is, can I sit under the sun and get me tan on? Whereas we have to worry about getting burnt, don't we?
We do, and I think a lot of this is cultural as well. So if we just go back a few steps, you look at why we are the color we are, and why Phil is the color he is. Well, we are the color what we are because of the place where we originate from. Okay, and just to go into the details of why we are the color we are, because we are built, we are made to be in those conditions, aren't we? The darker skin is adapted to sunlight, and it's got an increased amount of pigment called melanin. And the more melanin you have, the darker your skin, and the safer you are in theory, because melanin, along with other factors like your natural, well, is your natural umbrella, and it protects you from the harmful radiation from entering your skin. So in very simple terms, the darker the skin, the more it absorbs the heat. So darker skin protects you from the sun's harmful rays, but the darker skin makes you feel hotter because it absorbs more of the heat, and the fairer skin reflects some of the heat as well. So, you know, anything dark
I love it.
absorbs.
I'll be honest with you. I've heard of melanin, but I wasn't as clued up on this. So
dark skin has large concentrations of melanin, and it protects you against the ultraviolet rays from the sun, and that also gives you like skin cancers and things like that. So light-skinned people have about tenfold. I've got it written down here somewhere. Yeah, tenfold greater chance of dying from skin cancer compared to dark-skinned people under equal sunlight exposure, right? And from a personal point of view, I know that if I'm out in the sun, I tan very quickly. And I mean, I go several shades darker in the space of a few hours. I could be either playing golf or walking or playing cricket. And that's because the sun triggers my skin to produce even more melanin that very quickly to protect itself from exposure to the sun. But I wouldn't necessarily burn like somebody like Phil or somebody with white skin under the same conditions, but longer exposure would have the same burning effect as white skin. So
you was quite red last week, weren't you, Phil?
Phil was red. His calves were red, weren't they?
I weren't looking.
So not a good idea to spend long periods of time in the sun without any protection, regardless of what colour skin you are. But the darker skin does give you a little bit more protection from the sun's harmful effects as your lighter skin. So going back to where we are from, people don't spend a lot of time out in the sun anyway, even though they're protected from it, or to a certain degree, right? Because it's just too hot. The sun's too hot for them to work in and things like that. That's why people have siestas out there. That's why people sleep during the day, because your body simply can't cope with it. And I suppose that my generation and before my generation, even in this country now, when you come over here, when the sun's out, you tend to not expose yourself to it. But a lot of the younger people now wear shorts all the time. My son wears shorts all the time, and I think yes, you wear shorts a lot as well. But I don't get my pins out that often. So maybe it's a cultural and a generational thing as well.
It is, but I'll bring it back in terms of where we came from and where we are in Britain. And I remember a cousin of mine said something to me once, and it stuck with me since. And he said, us Asians, we're like the elephants in the zoo. They've been here for 50, 60, 70 years, but they still can't cope with the British weather in the sense where they get arthritis. And we still haven't adapted to the British weather in terms of the rain as much as the sun. As soon as it starts raining, we're indoors. We don't go out. As soon as it gets cold, radiators are on. We're in our living rooms. Whereas when I used to go hiking, I used to go in all weather. And especially in winter, we saw quite a few Asians out hiking last week because the weather's nice. But try going in winter, you will not see anyone at all.
Not a chance.
Not a chance. We just don't like it. We don't like the cold. But then we don't like the heat. We can't adapt to either. So we stick to our comfort zones a bit. And within our comfort zones is in winter, we'll stay indoors. And when the sun's out, we'll go out, but we'll stick to places we know where it's, a lot of Asians will go. So even in this country, we've kind of revert to type in a sense as well. And we've never adapted to the British. I'll give you an example from a work perspective. The number one reason, so I work in football, and my job is to try and bring Asian people to football games. Used to be my job. My job's changed a bit. And the number one reason I get for people not coming to football games, I come when it's a bit warmer. But football's played in the winter for the most part. And honestly, the amount of Asians I have a conversation, I say, are you coming to the game? Come when it's a bit warmer. And for some reason, we don't understand that your clothing, there's no such thing as bad weather. It's just bad clothing. Like wearing jeans.
But some people can adapt to it better than others. I mean, come on, when we go and watch Rovers in, say, December, January, February, no matter how much you wear, it's absolutely freezing on them terraces, isn't it? Absolutely. Because the thing is, the players are running around, you're not. You can have your gloves on, you can have 3 pairs of socks on, you can have your hotties stuffed in your gloves and what have you, and it just about takes the edge off the cold. Absolutely freezing. So I get where they're coming from.
Go on, Phil. I'd like to bring you in on this one.
Well, it won't help, will it, that you sat there freezing in the middle of winter and you're watching Blackburn Rovers get beat.
Okay.
So that'll be another reason, won't it? If you're not going on with 3 points or watching a win and a goalless, boring draw, it'll be absolutely garbage.
Oh, yes, I tell you what, Phil and his fellow Burnley fans will find it a lot more difficult to stay warm, won't they? Because they've got extra digits on the fingers and the feet.
Listen, I've got friends in both camps. I'm not going to, but all I would say is there's something where we've been in this country now for a long time. Obviously I was born here. My dad's been here, I think, 50 years. But for some reason, we only come out when the sun's out. And we only try and go outdoors as soon as the weather's nice. If you go to the Lake District over this weekend, I bet you can see more Asians than you've ever seen in the Lake District.
And I'll tell you what else you see as well, where you've got Asians, there's food all around as well, right?
Yeah.
We only go to places, right, with food, or it's all based around food. And even if we go out when it's warm, we go for walks. We go like, well, the only time we walk is from the car park to the restaurant or to the takeaway, whatever.
Right. So when we went on Sunday, all the way around, so we were on our own, weren't we, for about 2 miles because we followed your app and it had taken us the wrong way first. Well, not the wrong way, but it took us out, didn't it? Rather than up to the mountain, it took us out.
Took us on a longer route, yeah.
It took us on, and to be fair, it was a really nice loop. And all the way around, you guys were saying, "Oh, you never see any Asians." Yeah, we don't do walking. We don't do this. Blah, 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 blah. And the amount of Asians that we saw actually was quite a few. You've got to say there was quite a few, wasn't there, out and about?
But do the same walk when the weather conditions aren't as good.
Yeah, but do the same walk when the weather conditions aren't as good. There won't be as many white folk up there, are there?
There will be. The ratio will be very different.
Unfortunately, there'll be even more white people.
Yeah, the ratio will be very, very different.
Percentage-wise, you mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, okay.
And I think what the point I'm trying to make is, and it's not the main point of discussion today, but the one thing I do want to make a point is, as soon as the sun comes out, we're out. We're out for walks. We're out doing lots of outdoorsy stuff. As soon as even the temperature drops below 15 degrees, that's it. We're not. The amount of people I've seen out walking the streets over the last couple of weeks, because the weather's been really nice. It's really nice to see. We need it, and we were discussing this on the way up, Shaz, weren't we? We suffer from blood pressure. We suffer from cholesterol. We suffer from diabetes. That's the 3 most common, illnesses that most Asian people, or large percentage of Asian people, suffer from. Going back to what we're talking about, which is hiking and walking, and going back to the science of it, hiking actually improves your good cholesterol and lowers your bad cholesterol. Hiking actually helps your blood pressure a lot. But we only seem to do things like that when the sun comes out. And my point today for this, is more than anything else, is to say, right, okay, sun comes out. How's it different for a British Indian? How's it different for a British Pakistani? How's it different for a British white man? And what is it, in terms of our cultures, and what is the kind of history behind it that makes that, different? So I think if we go quickly around in terms of what you're used to and what you're, used to doing, but as soon as we hit summer and the sun's out, what's your typical summer, Phil? What do you, what you're used to doing?
Well, mine's changed obviously over the years. So I, as some people will know out there that listen, who'll be friends of mine, I now no longer drink alcohol, and I haven't drunk alcohol for about 3.5 years ish. Yeah, probably about
Muslim.
3.5 years coming up. So yeah, I'm a good Muslim boy now. But pre 3.5 years ago, it would have been in the garden or beer garden at a pub, and it'd have been drink. It'd have been drink and food related, with friends usually, and there'd have just been a lot of alcohol consumed, barbecue maybe. I wouldn't have said so much walking at that point because it's difficult to walk and drink. But yeah, I think it's games like golf as well. I don't know if you'll have seen it today, Shaz, or if you'll have ever seen it on Baxenden golf course. There'll be a lot of lads I would have assumed that take tins in the bag, and there'll be a lot of lads that I thought drinking beer on the way around the golf course. That's normally is not well. That's
No,
so a friend who I used to play with. In fact, I've played with him recently. Said if it weren't for you, I'd have brought a load of tins with me. He said, but it's no good drinking on my own, is it? And I was like, well, you can do for me. Do you know what I mean? It's not, and that was a nice day.
The clubhouse is full of people drinking, isn't it?
Yeah, and then they'll stop and have a drink.
That's what it makes money out of, people drinking. But maybe people do it, but I've never seen people drinking whilst playing golf. Now, doesn't mean to say that they probably don't do it, but I haven't seen it myself.
Well, yeah, I think it's a sociable time. I think the sun. So now my thing is getting out, and I think we clocked it, didn't we, the other day when the sun's out in this country, and especially where we are or close to where we are. There's not many better places in the world that you can see for some astonishing views. Absolutely beautiful at the top of or even on the way up to Penigent. It was absolutely beautiful. And that sunshine now to me is about now getting out. I've been out today with my youngest son when we trekked along. We parked up at Sabden and then we were up on the top of Pendle and did about 6 miles up on the top of Pendle. Past a few people, but for a long stretches we were on our own, and you can just see. It's just the views over the towns and things like that.
Did you see any Asians? We're all in the Lake District.
Not that I can recall. No, not that I can recall. But I can't say I was specifically looking out, if I'm honest. But yeah, it's just about enjoying the sun now, I think, and enjoying the good weather and getting to see the views that I normally see in the rain in a bit of positive light.
Just want to touch on one thing you said when we went for that walk last week.
Go on.
Your dad was texting you throughout, wasn't he?
Yes.
And you said you did that a lot with your dad.
So yeah, growing up as probably a preteen, really, from 10, 11, 12-year-old, even probably early teens as well. My dad used to love walking, and we used to go walking a lot of weekends with a mate of mine and his dad. So we'd be all over the place. My dad, yeah. So I took a photo, didn't I, when we were at the bottom of the mountain, and my dad said, "Oh, I think it was Pennine. You're at Pennine Way now." And as we turned around, there was a sign, wasn't there, Pennine Way? Oh yeah, we are. That's exactly where we are. Yeah, and he knew the route we'd taken. And when I saw him the day after, he said, "Why did you take that route? Why didn't you go?" And I was like, "Yeah, but we were just following this out. We didn't really know where we were going, Dad." "Well, you should have gone." And he was like, as if he vividly knew which way to trek. But I said,
I commented I'd never done that ever with my dad. It's just not something we did.
No, me.
And that's the difference.
I'll tell you what else as well. My dad never came to watch me play cricket. Yet I've been to watch everything that my son does. And my daughter, she did a lot of karate. She went all around Europe, karate competitions and what have you. And we went everywhere with them. We used to go to all the training sessions and everything as well. But no, my dad never went to see me watch. Watch me do anything.
Is that cultural though, Shaz, or generational?
I think it's generational. It can't be cultural because I go to watch my son and my daughter do whatever it is they do.
I think there was a lot of I think there's a lot of I think there's an element of generational within it as well, in the sense where I remember my dad was working all hours, night and day, trying to keep, us going as a family. And in terms of recreational time, there wasn't much. Time together with the family in terms of having recreational time was just playing in your front yard or backyard or whatever, or within, your street, going out to do things.
Yeah, priorities are different as well now.
Yeah.
We've got, I think we are prioritizing family and kids more now than I think would do that my parents did, because my dad, like your dad did, yes, he worked all the time.
I think work-life balance is a massive thing nowadays.
Sorry?
Work-life balance is a massissive thing nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah.
More so than it ever was. Even when I was a kid, my dad, spent a lot of time working. And work-life balance was non-existent even then. And yet nowadays, you can't go anywhere, can you, out hearing about it?
Yeah. So Phil, just to go back, so now sun comes out, British summer. Besides, doing anything different, what's your kind of go-to? Sun's out, what we're doing?
I'm going for a walk somewhere, whether it's local or I'm driving. I'm driving somewhere. You don't have to go far around here, do you, to find a hill and with some views, and that's probably my go-to nowadays.
Okay.
What we discussed on Sunday, and Phil just brought that up as well, and we said that we probably live in the best country in the world for views and walks. And
the best thing about it is, Shaz, it's free.
It's free as well, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? You don't have to pay to go outdoors, do you?
No, you don't.
I love
think
that.
Your app was free as well, wasn't it? Yeah. Even though you have us think that you paid for it.
No, I paid for it to be downloaded, so we don't have to rely on it.
Okay.
So just touching on that, so I spoke to my dad actually before we did this, and I spoke to him about his childhood because he grew up in Africa. He moved there when he was 9 months old, and he grew up in Africa. And I said, "What did you do growing up as a kid in Africa?" And he said, "Our weekends were fishing, and our weekends were going for walks near the river stream and taking some can of beans with us and cooking these can of beans." And he said our evenings were going to play cricket in the local club. Every evening we'd be out there playing cricket. So he had quite an outdoorsy upbringing, in the sense where he was always out and about. I think when he moved to this country, obviously trying to put food on the table, we lost my mom when she was 6, so my dad was, we were a single parent for quite a long time, but his priorities were very, very different. And growing up, I think we used to have 3 things in the calendar that we used to do. We'd go to Blackpool to see the lights in winter. That was one of the family things to do. In the summer, we actually used to go to lakes, and we used to take the boat at Ambleside to Windermere, and that used to be a staple every single summer we used to do. And then sometimes in the winter, we used to always go to London. But besides those 3 things, we very rarely ever ventured out or did anything differently. And it was only until I had my kids where I thought I want to do things differently and appreciate the great outdoors and take them outdoors a bit more and trying to do more outdoor activities. So I think things are changing, and we are now bringing our children up, and we might be one generation behind, but I'm doing things with my kids and I'm doing things with my friends that Phil might have been used to growing up. I don't try to go to Blackpool as much as everyone else as soon as the sun comes out. I don't try to go to the lakes for barbecues as much. It might be something we might do every now and then, but I like to get outdoors, whether that's cycling, whether that's hiking, whatever it is, the activities where, you can appreciate the country that you're living in. And it's very different to what we grew up and what we knew when we were growing up. Shaz, obviously you've seen it in terms of, the 80s and, growing up playing cricket and everything else. How has that changed for you over the years?
Well, I think my dad didn't really do anything outdoorsy. He didn't really have a life that involved any kind of a leisure activity. He just basically worked and came home. We hardly ever went out to eat. And those were the days where, we just about made ends meet. and that was my dad's priority. And even now, we ask him if he wants to come out to eat with us, and he says, "Yeah, if I have to." So he's not really that bothered about it. So you're right, yes, it's a generational thing as well, and also maybe our culture is changing a little bit. Maybe our culture is being diluted by the British culture as well, because we live here. We've lived here for several generations, and it's natural for cultures to be diluted. It's natural for cultures to be mixed, and and I always say that we live in a culture as British Asians where we get the best of both worlds, right? We have our own rich Asian culture as well, and we also then dip into the English culture as well. I mean, rightly, wrongly, whatever a lot of our fellow Muslims have to say, I put lights up my house at Christmas. Okay, we sometimes put a Christmas tree up as well, right? Don't see any problem with it at all. Doesn't make you a non-Muslim, right? It's taken part in the celebration, in the culture that you lived all your life in as well. Doesn't mean to say you go to church, and doesn't mean to say you do this and this and that. It's a culture. It's all cultures get diluted, okay? And ours is no different.
We'll discuss that on another day, because I see that very differently.
I thought you might.
I do, but that's another one for another day. But at the same time, I do take your point totally, that we are, as generations go by, and for how long we've been here now, it naturally will change in terms of what our kids are exposed to, what they're doing, going places where we might not have been to when we were younger. And don't get, a lot of people, when we were growing up, a lot of the parents didn't even have cars to take us to anywhere. So we used to just grow up in the streets where we grew up. We never used to venture any further than Blackburn or, wherever you grew up. Going somewhere outside of Blackburn was very rare. Nowadays, jumping car, we're off to lakes. Jumping car, we're off to, Yorkshire. And it's a lot easier and a lot more accessible for us to do things differently. The biggest thing I want to try and get across is, I think we have to be more like Phil and the white British people, in the sense where we have to change our mindset, and that mindset has to go away from sun's out, let's put a barbecue on. There's more we can do. Sun's out, let's go to lakes, let's go to Blackpool. There's more we can do that we don't have to, and we can do that throughout the year as well. It doesn't have to be just when the sun's out that we're out walking the streets.
But doesn't it make it a lot more pleasurable when the sun is out, though? Doesn't it make it a lot more pleasurable when you've got a t-shirt on rather than 15 layers on, just to make yourself just warm enough to function? And the sun being out, I keep looking out the window. Sun being out doesn't it make you feel so much better as well?
It does, but there's also an element of getting absolutely hammered and wet through and freezing, that when you get home, just doing some of the simple thing, having a cup of tea by the fire because you've been freezing. But there's a sense of accomplishment there as well, that you've managed to do it. It's hardening as well, isn't it? I think it's a little bit like it's sort of being exposed to the elements sort of hardens you up a little bit as well. I don't think there's any harm.
Well, let's see when the weather was freezing cold and windy and raining, and let's see how fun these long walks are then.
I'll get you up Pen again in December.
I'll try it. Yeah. I'll try it.
Is that a promise?
Let's see.
Yes.
That's online now. That's online.
He's golfing when the weather's poor, but he can't do hiking. I don't get that. He's standing under a tree when it's piss wet through playing golf, but he can't go on hikes for some reason.
I just said I'll go.
It's out there now. It's in the ether. We've got to do it. We've got to do it.
I'll tell you what else there's as well. Not many Asians have waterproof clothing. I'll give you that as well.
You're gonna have to buy some then for this.
I've got some. Don't worry.
It's funny you say that about waterproof clothing, because I bought my first ever waterproof coat when I started grassroots football, managing a grassroots team. And before that, I'd be one of those people that'd be, as soon as it starts raining, I ain't going out in that. And the amount of parents who would text us when we were running that grassroots club, we still are, and we still get this to this day. As soon as it starts raining outside, are we still playing? Is the game still on? Yes, it's only a bit of rain. And honestly, and for whatever reason, we think if it starts raining outside, we can't go outdoors.
Are these Asian parents or are these indigenous
Asian parents?
White parents, right?
No, you never ever get that. The difference there is it'll be snowing, it'll be -5, and they'll be like, why can't we get a game on?
Yeah, see, I did a spell of running a football team though, and you do get that. Oh, I can't have him playing in cold. Yeah, you can. It's just a bit of cold. Come on. But I think rather than that being anything to do with the weather, I think that's just because it's cold and wet that people can't be asked taking the kids and standing in the cold and wet. But like you, I didn't own a coat up until about 6 weeks ago. So I used to run when I go running and walking. I just do it in a hoodie because my theory behind it was I'm going to get wet. I'm going to get that wet that it's going to like piss me through to the bone. What's the point in a coat? And as you guys have known and I've seen me, I do a lot of sleeveless waterproof. I do like a gilet. I'll do like a sleeveless jacket, sleeveless coat. And again, useless in the winter, but keep me warm. And then I used to figure that I'd have wet arms for a little bit. And
when it's freezing cold and you're out and you're running or you're walking, you're going to get even more cold.
Yeah,
what's the fun in that?
You're getting cold anyway, aren't you? But it's that accomplishment, that feeling of accomplishment. You've braced the elements. You
can still get that feeling of accomplishment when you've got
not sat on your arse
15 layers on.
Shaz, right? Can I ask a question?
And your hotties on, and you've got your hoodie on, your gloves on, and everything. And you've done Penny Gent, and you still get a feeling of accomplishment, right? Yet you're still nice and warm. Yet you're dry. And it's more enjoyable. If you go Penny Gent and you piss wet through, you're not going to go. I tell you what, you're not going to go back again. In fact, you know what? You're not going to get down because you'll be dead.
I want to bring something up here. I actually want to bring something up. I can't remember what, but Shaz sent us a picture of something the other day on the group. It was just before we did Penny Gent, and for some reason we saw someone wrapped up like a mummy in a blanket.
Oh yeah,
me. Right? That was me.
And
he sent us a picture of that flask.
There was a blanket wrapped around him, and I was thinking, who's that wrapped in a blanket, Shaz?
Yeah, that was me. What's your problem with
that? The point I was going to make was, would you rather be wrapped in a blanket indoors, cozy, being, warm as toast? Would you rather be out, getting piss wet through, but coming home?
No, I'd rather be out in the pissing rain, nice and dry, nice and warm and comfortable, and walking in it and enjoy it even more.
You're gonna get wet. No matter what, you're gonna get wet.
But if you've got waterproofs on, at least you'll get less wet and less cold.
I actually remember, just to back Shaz up a little bit, I actually remember a memory of walking into my house as a young kid, piss wet through because we were playing out in the rain, so wet that my chuddies were wet. And I walked into the house. And my dad looked at me and just gave me a slap round the back and be like, get upstairs right now. What have you been doing playing out in that? Right. And it was just one of those things where playing out in rain, you can't do it. You've got to be indoors.
Oh, do you know what? I'd love to be out there on Penny Gent, right? All wrapped up when it's raining, when it's freezing cold, knowing that I'm nice and dry under all them layers and I'm warm-ish and comfortable.
No, you just.
I find that enjoyable.
You just.
I don't see the point in going up there with a layer on, freezing cold, wet. No.
You actually, Phil, you actually sent us a picture at top of Pendle Hill in December, didn't you? And you had shorts on.
It was Christmas Day.
You had shorts on, didn't you?
Yeah.
You're weird. You're weird, Hayworth.
But again, your legs don't really get cold, do they?
Don't they? Of course they do. It's
So
skin. It's
I had,
skin.
See, the
Like,
thing
like on your face and your hands.
no,
and
it ain't.
your
It
head.
isn't. It's a lot less sensitive on your legs. So as long as I've got a hat on, it middle of winter, my ears don't get cold. I'm pretty much all right. But I must admit, there was a guy coming off Pendle that day who was like proper, like, gear, jacket, pants, boots, hat, snood thing, and like well wrapped up. And he went, "You're not going up there, are you?" And I'm like, "Well, obviously, yeah. That's why I'm studying, mate, at bottom." And I had a pair of shorts, a hoodie on, and a hat. And he went, "Mate, it's windy up there." He said, "Don't even attempt it dressed like that." And to be fair to him, it was very windy, but
and when you got up there,
the sense of accomplishment.
It's a bit of cold. It's a bit, we're hardened to that now, aren't we? Come on.
Hang on.
Across top and start getting off bottom and you warm up again. It's not that long.
Accomplishment?
Yeah, why not?
Accomplishment is when you do it and you enjoy it, you're nice and dry and warm and you get up there. When
That's not accomplishment.
Your nuts off, why is that an accomplishment?
Because you make it, you're hardening yourself, aren't you, to a bit of the elements.
Chaz, when you do Ramadan, when you do fasting in Ramadan, is it not an accomplishment?
That's different.
Why?
Well,
because the religious. Forget the religious perspective.
No.
Why is it different?
No. I mean that's an accomplishment. Like a lot of other things are an accomplishment, but you can do the things within your own comfort zone, right? In my comfort zone is not going up Pen y Ghent, freezing your nuts off and wet to your skin. That is not an accomplishment. Why is that an accomplishment? It's an accomplishment of getting yourself ill and dead by the time you get to the top there. I
will agree with you. I will agree with you. It is nicer when the sun's out. My point here is you don't have to do things only when the sun's out. You don't have to start thinking, "Oh, look,
correct."
You know what?
And that's why you get waterproof clothing and thermals and all that stuff.
But we don't though, and that's my point.
Well, when we go up there in December, right? I'll tell you what, I'll have about 19 layers on, mate. Tell you, and I'll have my hotties in my gloves and in my feet and everything, and I'll be nice and snug and warm while you're freezing your nuts off.
No, never mind that. I want some Atok gear to do it in. How about that, yes?
We can organise that.
Atok waterproof.
What got on right now? Is it Corn Tires?
A bit of free advertising for you there as well. Bit of Corn Tire Centre gear.
Love it. The point of today's podcast for me was to discuss how the British summer is so different for Asians, for white British people, and it's not just the British summer; it's the British winter as well. Where either way, one thing that honestly I see more than anything else, and Shaz, I don't know whether you do anything differently, is as soon as the sun's out, family will say, "Are we going Blackpool? Are we going Lytham? Are we going Lakes?" And that's it. Or are we doing a barbecue? And that's it. That's their kind of go-to. And my point is, when the sun's out, there's so many things. Go cycling. If you can't cycle, and if you're not, obviously you don't own a bike, there's nothing better than going out to the lakes for a hike, going out to Yorkshire for a hike, and lots of places around here. There's even places on our doorstep in Ribble Valley.
We'll do 18 holes. That's a 7 to 8 mile walk.
Not everyone can play golf as well as you, my friend.
Or you, yes. Or you, Phil.
Right. Hey, get out. You leave me out of this conversation.
But honestly, when did you go golf though?
Just after the first lockdown, when I realised that my body doesn't like me playing cricket anymore.
Yeah, but COVID got a lot of people outdoors. But the problem is, as soon as COVID went away, people reverted back to type. And they started doing the things that they used to do. But honestly, the point I'm trying to make is we have to look beyond getting in a car to go to the lakes or getting in a car to go to Blackpool to sit by this, by the sand and have some fish and chips. There's a lot of things which we did last week, and you have to say, on a scale of 1 to 10, compared to other things that you do, how much did you enjoy that?
Oh, I loved it. I loved the occasion. The weather was nice, and the early start. I said this before as well. The early start. I picked you guys up at 6:30, didn't I? Right.
Oh, you picked me up at 6 o'clock like we planned.
Yeah, and Yasser, since it was Yasser that said we'll pick you up, we'll meet at 6 o'clock.
My time to go is in the morning, mate. And
yeah, and
you know.
Yasser then had to go to the toilet 3 times before he had to come see us.
That were nerves.
But no, so that occasion was good. I enjoyed it, enjoyed the company, enjoyed the laugh we had and the music and the sing along that we had on the way down. Well, me and Phil did anyway. And you know, it was very.
Was it a sense of accomplishment getting up there?
Yes. Yes.
And that's the challenge bit, isn't it? Now, if it was a bigger challenge where it wasn't as the weather conditions weren't as favorable as they were, wouldn't you feel a bit more that you did something, you achieved something?
I'd still do it, and you know, walking a long way is an accomplishment anyway, right? So is walking 7 miles when you do 18 holes. That's an accomplishment. But you're actually doing something else to do them 7 or 8 miles, whereas the walk is just a walk, isn't it? And you're there and you're going there, and it's an accomplishment going up there and coming down and whatever. And you're putting through you're putting your body through an activity that it's not used to doing.
I'd love my final bit on this is I'd love to see a lot more Asian people and that ratio changing of going outdoors. It's free, taking the kids, doing something with the kids where we take them outdoors, where we just don't take them to the usual spots, but we actually take in some of the beauty that's on our doorstep. And to Phil's point, and going back to him, his change from just going to a beer garden, going to a pub, and now doing things with his lad. And Phil, like and I think you went out with your lad this morning, didn't you? You said,
yeah, I've been out this morning,
and it's such a good thing to do together, because it just with the right group, or with the right person or people, it's such a nice thing to do together. And like I said, Shazzy, we know this, and we were discussing it: high cholesterol, blood pressure, diabetes. It's things that the silent killers that are killing a lot of our population, or at least affecting us there's nothing better than getting outdoors, putting a few layers on sometimes, but getting outdoors and just enjoying this country that we live in. And I'm hoping more people will watch this and think, I could do something like that. And if they, I'm hoping we're doing the one on Sunday together as well. But people, if they followed us on Chaiibucks chat and look at the Instagram and they look at what we did, I'm just hoping a lot more people. I am seeing more and more. Don't get me wrong. It's not like, we are seeing a lot more people enjoying the outdoors a lot more. Come wind, rain or shine. But I'm just hoping that as we grow up and our kids grow up, they get to do that a lot more. And hopefully next time Danny can come with us as well.
Absolutely.
And we can do something, where we can make it a family thing as well. Yeah. And I'd love to bring East and Phil and bring your lads as well.
The boys,
the boys. One thing, I'm not a Barbie. I'm actually going to throw this one out there, because this is I wasn't going to tell you this, but I'll tell you this for the first time. We're actually in July planning a wild camp.
I hate camping.
Go on, tell us more about it.
So I thought this might be put Shaz out of his comfort zone, but looks like Phil might be out of his comfort zone as well. So basically, go up in the mountain in the morning or early afternoon, get up there, watch the sunset, camp there for the night, and come down in the morning after the sunrise.
As long as I'm nice and warm in there, I'm all right.
Is it no B&B?
Yeah.
And
or a hotel nearby.
No.
If it's good enough for Bear Grylls, it's good enough for us.
We could open a veranda and watch the sunrise with an espresso.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad idea, that, Phil. We'll watch them going up.
Yeah, we'll watch them going up. Oh, the camping just there as we took it into our 3-course in the hotel restaurant. Is that them trying to light a fire?
Let's see, because that'll put you out of your comfort zone. And I'll be honest with you, I did camping once when I was 16, and I hated it as well. But it's that doing it with the right group of people and sharing an experience and putting yourself out of your comfort zone a bit. And again, I'll hopefully bring Issa with me. And the other lads, and everyone else will bring family as well. And it'll be nice for us to be exposed to the elements like that as well. Hopefully the conditions will be favourable, but if
We'll
not,
talk about that later.
Definitely. But I think just from my perspective, British summer, the sun's out for the next week as well. Just love to see people outdoors as we go through the summer and then into the winter as well. And hopefully like to have a lot more people doing the same, whatever background you're from, whatever culture generation you're from. And
looking forward to next week though, when you're organising that walk with a few other people as well.
You're going to trust my route this time?
Well, it wasn't too bad last time actually. Yes, we'll give you that. It was quite an enjoyable route.
Yeah, we've got to say, haven't we, that it was it's better than my idea anyway. Fair play. Right, gents, we've I think this is our longest one yet.
We've overran this one
massively, yeah. But we don't care. We make up our own rules as we go along. That's what it's all about. We're sticking true to being us. But gentlemen, thank you very much once again for joining me. Wherever you're currently listening, whether it's on YouTube or Spotify, again, please give us a like, give us a subscribe, and leave us some comments down below. What do you think? If you want to know any information on the walk that we did, head over to our Instagram at Chaiibucks Chat, and I will hopefully get the route or the app at least off you. Yes, and I'll stick it on either our story or our Instagram feed, and let people pick it up from there. But gents, yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt.
And we'll see you next week.